Okay, here we go. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Manifesting Me Show. The question that I have for you as we kick off is, what seeds are you planting in life, in your garden, and what will those seeds grow into and ultimately become? So that piece, that becoming piece, might be new for you. It actually is something that I added because I actually pretty much every March talk about seeds and growing in some fashion because it's almost spring, and so that is on the mind. And I share different facets or different aspects of that concept here in March or around March. So I'm still going to do that. And I have added this piece of becoming because it's something that I have experienced and that has become relevant in my life as well. So this is also serving a little bit of a double duty, serving two purposes maybe. So it is my weekly episode that I'm bringing to you. And this is also a talk that I am working out, fleshing out, if you will. And so I'm bringing it to you guys for your feedback and to hear or get feedback about what you think, if it was helpful, if something else might be included. Now, this is not going to be the full talk, so do keep that in mind. It is a synopsis or maybe just a shorter version of it. And then there is still some tweaking that I want and need to do as well. So hello, everybody. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Manifesting Me podcast or episode, I actually do this live on Wednesdays, and you will find it live on Facebook and on Instagram. And then it becomes an actual podcast episode on the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. So you can consume it and check it out and find it in many different ways. And so I'm going to get right into work my way through my notes here about seeds, growth, and becoming. And so I'll start with just seeds, right? We're all familiar with a seed, whether they're small seeds, big seeds, and also keep in mind or think about metaphorical seeds for ourselves. What seeds are you planting in life, or have been planted? What seeds have been planted, and are they growing, or are you growing them? Are they dormant right now? So just kind of keep this idea, this symbolism, and I will be talking about physical seeds as well, but just keep that in mind as we go through this little talk exercise, if you will. So, and also a concept that I talk about when I do talk about seeds is that to also keep in mind or think about the fact that whatever type of seed you plant, whether it is a physical, actual seed, whether it is an idea, whether it's a dream, whatever that seed is, that's the starting, right? That's what it will generate from. The seed looks absolutely nothing like the end result, right? So if you think of a seed of a plant or a flower or even an acorn or whatever type of seed from a tree, the seed itself is what that plant or the tree or your idea grows from. And what it grows into is something completely different than that seed. And then going through the cycle, the plant or the tree drops other seeds for the future, for more of those to grow, right? So that works the same with ideas and dreams, because as we grow the dreams and pursue them and, follow the ideas, pursue the projects that come from those ideas, they also drop more ideas, more dreams, more wishes. So That's also a way to look at that the seed looks nothing like the end result. And I don't think, at least for me, it was not something that I really was, thought of until I happened to, a couple years ago or so, that, hey, that's right. There is this process that it goes through. So for ourselves, why are we so hard when we have this idea and we're not at the end result right away? It's a process. It is a process and it takes time. And so just keep that, nugget in the back of your mind, in your toolbox, when you are starting on things and planting seeds, that the seed is only the starting point. It's not the end result, and the end result will look different. So that everything that starts from a seed goes through the process of becoming something or growing into something. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So everything that grows from a seed, whether it's an actual physical plant, whether it is a person, right? A person grows from a seed, an egg, a seed, or a building, a plane, a piece of machinery. All these things go through a growing process. We as humans grow from the embryos to an actual toddler, or an infant to a toddler to a teenager, adult, etc. Right? We grow. A plant grows. It has a cycle of growing. It goes through the growing process. A building also grows. You can see, starting with digging out space for a foundation, it grows into the structure, the framework of the building, and then all the other things are added along the way. I am not an architect or in construction, so I don't know the right terminology, but even machinery, right? Buildings, machinery, even something, do I have one here? A pen, right? If you're looking on a video format, watching this, a pen, anything, physical product starts with an idea, and it's either a blueprint or a sketch or something along those lines. And that looks completely different than the end result. Even if the representation of the building, like the drawing or the sketch, whatever it is, looks like it. If you can see the building in the photo, you can see that it's the same thing, but they're different because the building is in 3D and the sketch is in 2D. Side note, I actually looked up, like researched that concept, 2D and 3D, because I'd heard the saying, like, yes, I know that three-dimensional things are things we can actually hold and touch, but 1D, I didn't know what 1D was, or, what's the difference between 1D and 2D? And I learned that 1D is simply a line or a segment of a line. It's a straight line because all it has is length. That's all a line has is length. It's, very long, or a fraction, maybe it's just a dash, but it's length. Two-dimensional is when it has length and width. So that's where the sketches come in, because you can measure and make lines and angles and shapes. So that is 2D. And then, of course, 3D is the physical, tangible product or result. So that is something that I actually learned for myself, learned as I was doing the research of this, when this idea of the building, right? The building being, the physical building being different than the sketch, even if they look the same and you can tell it's the same building depicted on the sketch. So within the growing process, there are so many factors, infinite number of factors that can go into the results. Delays, for projects, weather for plants, health, nutrition for people, right? There's so many factors, but all of these things are contributing and part of the growing process as it gets bigger, as it nears completion, as we get older. And so some of the factors or some of the variables are helpful, move things along more smoothly, and some of the factors slow things up or throw a challenge or a wrinkle or a delay or a detour, but this is still all being incorporated in the growing process. And then at some point, now I'm going to dive into, I think, the meatiest part of this talk or of this episode, the becoming. Because at some point, the growing comes to an end. The building is completed. We are fully, as tall as we're going to get, or grown adult. A plant reaches its final growth. It's not going to grow indefinitely, right? A tree will not grow indefinitely up into the sky. Otherwise, planes would have problems with this. Plants, even if they spread, right, they're not going to spread around the world, right? It just doesn't happen. So it reaches some type of end or stopping, or I guess final growth. The end of the growing process comes to an end at some point. And so at the stopping point, whatever the seed, this is, I guess, fully grown or fully built. So whatever the seed was, whether it's a physical seed or our dreams or our desires, they reach a fully grown or complete phase, a stopping point, a plateau, whatever you want to call it, or depending on which example that you're thinking about or that resonates with you the most. And so at some point also, once the growing or the building or the getting ready stops, once the growth stops, at some point, all of the things become something else. They become something else. Now, this could take eons. There's buildings that we have as ruins. There are even mountains, which is something that develop naturally. They change and become different shapes and things along those lines. So everything reaches a point where it stops growing and then it becomes something else. And here is where I'm going to differentiate between all of the I was going to say non-living, but that's not true because plants and the earth is living. So what is the word? With things that don't have free will. We as human beings have free will. And so plants and buildings and all those things, I'm going to lump everything that is not human into one category, and I'm going to separate us out as humans in this process of becoming, because everything else becomes something either as part of the natural process. With plants, they have a growing season, and then either they die down or they drop seeds, or if they're perennials that come back every year, that dies back, and then a new plant emerges come spring or the next growing season. So it becomes something else. It becomes compost for, if it dies down and breaks down into the earth. A building can go through multiple evolutions of becoming. It can become used for something else. It can become rubble. It can become ruins. So everything becomes something else. It is either destroyed, changed form, changed purposes, all that. Now, us humans, this is where because we have the free will, we can simply go along with what we've been experiencing our entire lives, right? Now, our growing process, there are factors like our parents or who we grew up with, right? Their input, they take care of us. They provide for us. They make decisions for us because we're either not able to yet or it's not appropriate. And, until the age of 18, parents, guardians, other people can legally make decisions for you. And then a lot of the times we go along with what we have been accustomed to. Now, we still develop our own dreams and ideas, but a lot of times we also develop those dreams and ideas based on the expectations that others have placed on us, or based on what we think, obligations, or we think that's what we're supposed to go after, or we think that's what we're supposed to want based on input, external input, either societies or friends or family, mentors, teachers, all those things. And if you can hear the dog barking, he's just next door, right outside the wall. It's behind me. So I don't know if you can hear him or not, but he's out there. It's been raining here in LA today, so he's outside. I think it's a she. It's my neighbor's dog. And so we can then choose to become something different than what we were expected to, or we thought we were supposed to. And that's where it becomes a little bit more challenging, or challenging in a different way. And so this process of becoming everything that we have experienced, everything that has gone into our growing process is in there as information. It's in there as experience. It's in there as resources. It's in there as lessons. It's in there as fun. So every single one of us, even though we go through a similar growing process and, needing food and shelter and all these things and having people take care of us and then becoming our own independent person, we have the ability to change our trajectory. We have the ability to change the direction, to choose a different path, to choose a different career, to actually choose to do things the way we want to do them instead of the way others expect us or want us to do them. And that process of becoming something different is very often, I'm not going to say all the time, because very often uncomfortable in some aspect, because we're either going against the grain, or we have ideas that other people don't comprehend, or they don't understand our choices and our desires because they are coming from their experiences, their lessons. And this is where a lot of the time people stop, because it does feel too hard, because it does feel uncomfortable, because it's unknown, going against the expected path. And so what I want to really leave you guys with, like I said, this is a short version, and I don't want to keep you guys, keep this going too long as I kind of flesh this out. But I want to leave you with this concept of becoming, where you and I and every single one of us can choose to become whatever it is that we desire. Now, is that something that you've known all along and just haven't done it? I don't know. You tell me. Is it something that you know that there's something more, but you don't know what it is? I've experienced that. Is it something that just someone had told you no is not possible for you at some point, and so you put it off and held it as unattainable, unreachable, not for you? This is where we start to expand in, where it can go in so many different directions. And so I invite you to think about this process, especially now that we're in spring. And if you're listening to or watching this at another time in the future, either another spring or sometime that's not spring, this is still applicable, because the way that I work with things, I work with the lunar cycle and the seasonal cycles and all of this to help you guys become the person who is already living those desires, become the person who identifies what it is that they want to do. So that's where I am tying in this process of becoming with this growth, kind of following the growth cycle, because at least for myself, I had not really thought that through. I had not put that together, that yes, we're always growing emotionally and we're learning and our mind is expanding and the universe is also always expanding. And we are part of the universe. So I kind of just stopped there, at least in the thought process of growing. And then in doing this work with, with coaching and mentoring and teaching, it's like, wait a minute, there is an additional component: becoming someone else, becoming something else. And that process is what I help people through with this manifesting me framework or idea that I also developed, because that ties into every single one of us is the common denominator of every component of our life. Our work, our friends, our fun, our obligations. We are the only one that is the common denominator for every single aspect of our life. And so this manifesting me and becoming the person who is living the dreams and the desires that you have, and who has identified what it is that is your passion, by focusing on becoming that person and learning and finding out who that person is, that by default also affects every single aspect of your life. So by becoming the person who is confident, it affects every aspect of your life. By becoming the person who is calm and at ease, or whatever feeling that you want to go for. And that's how I teach setting intentions, using a feeling as the intention and then taking action to create that feeling. By becoming this person, you automatically affect every single aspect of your life. And at least for me, that felt like it lifted a weight off of my shoulders, because it didn't feel like, oh my gosh, what do I need to focus on now? Do I need to focus on my finances, or do I need to focus on my career, or do I need to focus on having more fun in my life? These are all things that I knew I needed to work on at some point. And there are definitely times where one area can have more of a focus. And I talk about this as well as the concept of harmony versus balance. Achieving perfect balance is not attainable, or sustainable, I should say, not sustainable for the long term. And I also have podcast episodes about that, and I'm sure I will revisit it again in the future. But just let me know what your takeaways are with this process of becoming. And what does it feel like, or what comes up for you when I say becoming the person who has everything that you want is really the key. It's really the component that automatically affects every other area of your life. And yes, there will be times where we're going to focus on things specifically, like finances and job and a specific goal. But guess what? Because I talk about and work with and teach and coach on working cyclically with the seasons, the zodiac can help with that as well. It gives us these focuses that we can check in on, or that are attuned. The energy is more attuned, or it's giving you a focus that you can follow and say, hey, I don't know what to work on. What's going on right now? What solar season are we in? And that's for when people are having birthdays. Like right now we're in Pisces season, because everybody who is a Pisces is having birthdays in that month that the sun is in Pisces. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole in this episode, but I will be talking about those things on other episodes, and I have on past episodes, because that is all part of this process of becoming. And once we become something, we can also choose to become something else. One of the things that I think I'm going to also incorporate as I flesh out this talk is that a lot of times we get so focused on, let's say I got a degree in this, so I need to become that. I need to become a doctor because I have a medical degree. That's what I went to college for. That's what I got my degree in. And we get so hyper-focused on, this is what I need to be, or this is what I need to become. It's not true. You can become anything that you want. And that's not to negate the experience that you have in achieving that degree. You have learned valuable skills. I mentioned this in a podcast that I was a guest on. I don't think it has posted yet. But I was talking about this concept of, we get so focused on who we think we need to be because of what we went to college for, or what we studied for, or what our job is, or what role we have in life, like mom or parent or sibling or employee. We get so caught up in that we need to be that becomes our identity, that we don't really stop to think a lot of the times that we can shift that. So and the example that I used, which is why I brought this up, was specifically thinking about a degree, talking about a degree, and really what that does. A degree, achieving a degree, serves a purpose of, yes, you learn the things that you need to learn to check off all the criteria of getting that degree. I don't have a degree, so that's why I'm kind of like generalizing, but that shows an employer, whether it's in the same field that you're in or not, or that you studied for or not, earning a degree shows an employer or someone else that you have the ability to learn something new and retain it. And it also shows an employer or yourself even, right, that you have the ability to show up for a specific period of time, 4 years typically, unless you do go beyond the initial undergrad work. And so you have the ability, you have the skills, you have the tenacity to stick with things. All of those things are transferable anywhere, absolutely anywhere. So this applies to also multiple aspects of life. If you're already in a career, or if you have a role that you think that is your lot in life, you can be that, or you have been that, and it can change. Or you can be that thing and something else. So that's what I invite you to explore, especially as we move into spring and planting seeds. What seeds do you want to plant? What plants that you have grown, maybe do you want to transplant or have them become something else? Do you want to become something else? So that is where I'm going to stop before I end up going down more rabbit holes, which I am very, very likely to do, because that's where I stopped my notes. And so I will flesh some more out, but I would love your feedback. Let me know if having more than one example was helpful, like a plant in a building and using the various examples, or if that got confusing. And even if you're listening to this down the road in the future and I'm giving this talk somewhere already, I invite you to still let me know, because it's always good to get information and feedback. And I invite that. I am putting this out there for that. So that's what I'm asking. If you can, wherever you're watching, listening to this, on the comments, and you can also always email me. And the email to reach me is vision, VISION, at bluemoonmanifestations.com. And Blue Moon Manifestations is all one word. There's no dashes or anything like that. And let me know your feedback. Let me know your thoughts. What would have been more helpful, or what you found helpful from this information. And lastly, I invite you to share this out and pass it along if you know someone that will benefit from this, or just simply share it, pass it along, and see, put it out there so that it finds someone that it will benefit or who will enjoy it. And I will talk to you guys next week, and I will see you around Blue Moon Manifestations land. If you have questions or ideas for other episodes and topics, let me know. And that's it for this one. Let me know what you're working on becoming. And I'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care.